All right, today I'm going to show you how to cut out this template for this particular Gothic architecture building. So your template looks like this. You are going to need scissors and glue. We are just going to use our scissors first though. So the very first thing that we need to do is cut out around this entire shape very carefully. Now I say very carefully because we want to make sure that we do not cut out parts that we don't need to cut out. It would be very sad to do all of that hard work on your Gothic architecture building just to mess it up in the cutting out stage. So with your scissors, you are going to cut out the very outside edge. Notice how I did not cut any of the other lines that are on the inside of the building. Those are going to be for folding. So to start this, we are going to start folding on all these dotted lines. We are going to fold it out to make start making our building with our design on the outside. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to start folding out. Notice how this will start to make my actual building. I'm going to fold this out. Need to fold this out. Now, I am going to have to make sure I take my time and get these folds correct because, again, I don't want to mess up on the very last part of this project. We do not have time to start over. So I have the outside building kind of put together. I need to fold down this part. Now, this is the floor of your building. This part right here. If you were a person that included a Gothic architecture element on the inside of your building, when you take your pictures, you are going to have to fold this out to be able to take the picture of your ribbed vault ceiling. But that is an option that you can do. So we have the overall flaps folded. Now we are going to fold these top flaps in. Now, you are going to need your scissors one more time because these solid lines here and here, we are going to cut those to make like a mark to be able to fold it in. So I am just going to cut that far to where it lines up with those other lines. Okay, then I'm going to start folding these other flaps. Notice on these ones, they're going to be a little bit tricky because they are diagonal. So make sure you get it in line before you get that fold crease. Perfect, and you should have something that looks like this. Now that your folds are there, you can kind of start to see how this is going to start to come together. So we are going to take this part and connect it to this flap. So this flap is going to be where our glue goes. So now you're good to grab your glue. When I am gluing, I am not doing a giant glob of glue. Instead, I'm just doing a small, consistent line of glue that will be able, we don't want it to smush out all over our paper. So I'm going to hold this for about 5 to 10 seconds to make sure that it sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. Now we are to the part where we can move on to that second page that looks like this. So we are going to cut out around all of these objects until we are left with these 3 pieces. So notice I cut out around all of those like so. Now for our roof, we are going to fold our roof in half. For my roof, mine was looking real big. So if you feel the need to, because eventually our roof will go on top of here. If you think this roof is too gigantic, you can feel free to cut part of it away. And I think I'm going to do that in a moment. The next piece is we have to start folding. So again, we want to make sure that we are folding out. We're going to fold on these dotted lines. Folding out to where we can see our design. All the dotted lines we are folding. Then we're going to start folding these tabs at the top. I think it's easiest if you flip it over and fold it this way. That's just the way I prefer to do it. Perfect. So we will get something like this. We have these lines that I'm going to come back to in just a moment. I'm going to fold this one next. So this one is tricky because you have to really pay attention to where your lines are at because they are all kind of a diagonal. Making sure that you really get those lines folded accurately. If you mess up in the folding part, it's gonna throw off the rest of the gluing and all of that fun stuff. Okay. So we have this part folded. It looks like this flat. We are going to put glue on this flap over here to attach it to this flap over here. So I'm going to do that now. A little bit of glue, not a lot. Making sure that this lines up, doesn't look funky, like so. Then I'm going to hold it. I have one finger on the inside of this cone type deal, and I have these other ones on the outside, kind of pinching lightly to make sure that glue really attaches. So we'll get something that looks like this. This is going to be the top. This is going to be this part right here. So for this part, we're ready to glue. So we are going to glue this side to this side. So I'm going to put glue on this flap right here and fold it over and attach it there. Before we do that, before you glue, we actually need to cut these pieces out. So I'm going to cut this to create a triangle. This is what is going to sit on top of our house. I think it's easier to cut it out. If you already glued it though, you can always cut it out after you've glued it. So I cut that out. Now I'm going to glue it. So I'm holding my flap, which is right here. Awesome. Okay, so I now have these 4 pieces that are somewhat assembled. So now we are ready to put these 4 pieces together. Like I said before, I thought my roof was too gigantic, so I'm going to cut off part of this to make it look like this. So for the roof, you are going to glue the roof by using these flaps to attach to the roof. So my suggestion would be to do it one side at a time. So like I'm going to put glue on these 2 flaps, center my roof, and then kind of hold that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want you to really take your time for time's sake. That way you can make sure you're good to go. I'm going to do both of them at the same time. I want you to do one at a time. I'm going to center it and make sure those glue down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your roof looks something like this. Now we are to the point. If your building is not staying, you can kind of fold that bottom part in like that to make it stand up. The next part we are going to glue is this part to here. Now, this might be tricky I'm gonna actually fold these up, I think. I'm gonna put glue on all 4 of them, just maybe a dot per piece. Then I'm gonna put this in here. Boop. I'm gonna reach into the inside and try to get those 4 tabs to attach here. If you need to do it 1 tab at a time, it might be hard to get the glue in there, but you could for sure try it that way. Whatever works for you until you get this attached to this piece. So now we have 2 pieces. This is going to set on top of here. So you can either set it on top. Now, where you put it is up to you. If you want it in the front, the back, or the middle, that is completely up to you, your choice. I added a very, very, very small line of glue around this corner, and then I cleaned it up with my finger after I attached it to the actual piece. So I went around like this and just glued very lightly. Then I set it on top. I want this one to be in the front, like this. I held it. Now, I see some parts where my glue is very messy, so I'm gonna go back and clean that up with my finger. Other than that, you have your building ready to go once that actually sets on there. So make sure that gets set before you move it. But there you are.